Not everything that comes from the sky is rain or snow. Sometimes it's the last thing we expect. Mysterious creatures, unidentified objects from another world, and sightings that still can't be explained. These are the scariest things that fell from the sky. Even in your wildest dreams, you wouldn't imagine this falling from the sky. But it really happened in China, in Zhejiang. These tiny octopuses came along with the rain on a man's windshield. It had happened in 2019. But this wasn't the only time in China when something truly unexpected fell from the sky. Earlier in 2018, it literally rained fish in enormous quantities. The marine creatures covered streets and rooftops. On another occasion in Liaoning, right after rain, people found thousands of worms everywhere, including their cars and sidewalks. According to weather experts, this could be due to weather phenomena known as water sprouts that pick up sea creatures and fling them miles away, sometimes even on land. Powerful light discs. Workers at the port of Halifax in Canada were on duty when something terrifying appeared in the sky. These glowing shapes came down from the clouds. They had flat, disc-like tops and long, funnel-shaped beams beneath them. They kept morphing like they were made of pure light or energy, but they still showed immense physical power. The water below was churning and splashing, as if the beams were heavy enough to crush through physical objects. The sight lasted nearly 10 minutes before vanishing. Even now, no one knows what it was, and port authorities have increased safety measures, because whatever that was carried enough force to break ships apart. Frogman sighting. In Mexico, a man suddenly heard a loud thud on his rooftop, like something had fallen from a great height. When he stepped outside to check, he found this terrifying frog-like entity. It looked like a grotesque hybrid between a frog and a human, with webbed hands and feet, and gill-like structures instead of ears. Its skin was slick with slimy mucus, and it gave off a foul stench too. The creature kept inflating its vocal sac like an actual frog. This video has gone viral on multiple platforms, and people are calling it the Frogman. But it doesn't really show what happened next. So what do you think they did to the Frogman? Rooftop fairies. When a man in Greece climbed onto his roof to fix a faulty satellite dish, he never expected what he saw next. There were tiny fairies with pale bodies and white feathery wings. One of them was even holding a trumpet in its mouth. At that moment, he suddenly remembered that for days, his TV signals from the dish had been cutting out without reason, and strange trumpet-like sounds had been echoing through the neighborhood at night. It seemed like these mischievous creatures had been interfering with the satellite equipment. As they flew back into the sky, the man was only left with disbelief. Locust's invasion. This terrifying video from Bahrain shows swarms of locusts that had suddenly invaded the country. The swarms were so massive, they had darkened the skies. They were everywhere, slamming against car windshields and on the roads, so drivers could barely see through them at all. This happened in February 2020, and just weeks earlier, these swarms had caused chaos across parts of Africa. The strong winds had carried the locusts across regions and eventually pushed them towards this country. The government eventually brought the situation under control using spray teams from the plant protection and quarantine section. Alien carcass. A man staying at a beachfront building in Miami Beach looked out of his window and noticed that the entire beach had been suddenly cleared out. And the reason was unbelievable. There was a strange carcass on the sand, and police had completely blocked access to it. They were carefully examining the body. From a distance, the pale figure looked disturbingly humanoid. I managed to find more information on this. According to sources, authorities had found a fallen alien on the beach the day after locals reported a glowing object shooting down from the sky. People believed it had been the alien falling through our orbit. Authorities tried to remove all evidence from the crash site, but they still haven't taken down this video. Mysterious sphere. Aliens and spaceships might be easier to explain than this. During a hiking trip in the Russian woods, a man found this massive white sphere. Its surface looked pale and solid, and when he tapped it with a rod, it sounded completely hollow. It didn't even have any markings or openings that aircrafts or ordinary man-made structures have. When he examined the impact site, he noticed crushed vegetation and a small crater, which meant it had fallen from the sky. Since it was too large for him to move alone, he simply recorded it and posted it online. Now it's time for you to decide what it was. Mysterious black foam. In 2024, a shocking moment in Patok Beusi, Subang, Indonesia made people think the end was coming. Right after heavy rain, a strange black mass drifted down from the sky. It looked like thick foam, dark and clumped together, and it moved with the wind before landing in the rice fields. The sight felt truly apocalyptic. People who went near it said it smelled sour and awful, like chemical waste. Those who touched it felt itching on their skin, and the mass kept regrouping mysteriously. Soon after, police and the Subang Environmental Agency stepped in to investigate it. They said this could be industrial waste that got lifted into the air by strong winds. Even meteorologists confirmed it was not a natural phenomenon. Skyfall. This viral video is just as shocking as it is unexplainable. A security camera from Florida caught a mysterious flash in the sky. Suddenly, someone in a black hood suddenly came down from the sky. There were no tall buildings where he could have jumped from, so it's not clear how he appeared there. Even the sudden flash of light during an ordinary sunny day made no sense. Then, he simply got up and walked away like nothing strange had just happened. Fairy remains. Did this man discover a real fairy? In Sheffield, England, a man was watering plants in his garden when he noticed this carcass near the soil and picked it up. It had a gray humanoid body, a face that looked disturbingly like a miniature human face, and two translucent wings on its back, just like a fairy. He was so shocked that after recording it, he took it inside and kept it safe. He planned to contact zoologists and forensic biologists to examine the specimen and explain this, but we're still waiting for updates. Bloated carcass. In 2009, a group of teenagers in Panama went back to check the spot near a forest cave after they saw something shooting down from the sky. That is when they found this disturbing, strange carcass lying there on a rock. The body looked swollen with a bloated belly, and the arms were long and with hooked claws. Its face looked totally distorted, and its tongue was sticking out of its mouth. They were so disturbed by it that after taking photos, they reported the sighting to authorities. A few days later, officials recovered the carcass. Although they dismissed it as a mutated sloth, the teenagers did not believe them because sloths do not fall from the sky. Worm invasion. Although this bizarre incident is a decade old, it's still one of the most unsettling ones. It happened right after the heavy rains in May 2015 that had already displaced many families. Once the storm finally passed, staff at Eisenhower State Park in Texas stepped outside and noticed something disturbing. Dozens of clumps of worms were lined up along the center of the road. After this incident, experts tried to figure out what kind of weather anomaly had caused these worms to rain like that. But even the most capable scientists admitted they had no clear answers. Fairy sighting. The following video is quite old, but it's still one of the biggest mysteries on the internet. It shows the cameraman walking towards the window after thinking he had seen something strange outside. And he was right, because right in front of the window, there was a flying fairy. It looked pale and slender, with incredibly long legs and massive wings behind it. The wings were covered in dark black patterns. The moment it saw that the cameraman had spotted it, the fairy suddenly turned away and flew out of sight. The video ended there with no further explanation. Flying humanoid. You're about to see one of the most unexplainable videos ever. One day in Oklahoma, a man stepped outside to take out his trash. That's when he saw a dark humanoid figure flying in the sky. What made it even stranger was that there were no power lines anywhere nearby, so it wasn't a person that got tangled up there. It didn't have wings either, but it was somehow flying incredibly fast across the sky. It eventually flew out of sight. The man had no explanation for it, and surprisingly, none of his neighbors saw it. Do you have any logical explanation for this? Tiny creature. A man found the strangest creature in a park in Eugene, Oregon, in March 2022. It was so unsettling that he decided to take it home. The tiny creature had a small, creepy head and an unnaturally slender body. It was so thin, it looked like it could snap like a twig. The creature even had large red and orange wings. The man, Alistair Boone, later explained on Reddit that he had seen it struggling to fly above him. Then it just dropped straight down. After he shared this story, some viewers urged him to contact experts so they could find out what this was. Others told him to throw it away immediately, but he hasn't given any other update. Massive migration. This is literally the last thing this man expected to see. A man from South Australia saw a thick, cloudy form rising from the horizon and heard a deep, roaring noise at the same time. At first, it felt like a storm was rolling in, but these were no dark clouds. What he was actually seeing was an entire wall of birds, forming a dense band that stretched from one horizon to the other. The massive formation passed directly overhead and kept moving across the sky. It turned out they were witnessing a colossal migration of birds. The sound he had heard was millions of wings beating together.
Oh my god.
Dragon carcass. Last year, in an Indonesian forest, hikers found a carcass of the most unbelievable creature. It had a long snout filled with sharp, thin teeth, a terrifying reptilian face with one eye still open, and massive horns on top. There were spikes running along its thick, scaly neck. There were huge, dark, bat-like wings behind it. Turns out, they had found a dragon. This reminded them of a story which one of their friends had once told them. He had explored this same forest 2 months before them, and mentioned seeing a massive beast flying in the skies. They had laughed it off as a joke at that time, but not anymore. They eventually contacted the Indonesian Forest Wildlife Department, who took the carcass away. Unusual moth. Look what these siblings found near their home. They spotted a winged creature that had huge, light seafoam-colored wings. It even had 2 coral-colored tails behind it that looked like twisted silk ribbons. They were so startled by its unusual appearance that they surrounded it out of curiosity, taking photos from every angle. When they looked it up online, they discovered it was a Chinese moon moth. The fact that it was there during the day was very shocking, because these moths are active only at night and usually stay hidden or camouflaged.
This is a female of a Chinese moon moth.
Hovering mystery. The Great Trevorban Tip in Cornwall has always been a striking sight, but one day on a drive, a man recorded something truly mysterious on top of it. A dark, faint shape had descended from the clouds and hovered right above the white peak. Its form was strange, unrecognizable, and after some time, it slowly faded away mysteriously. When he uploaded the video, viewers were quick to come up with wild theories. Ever since the Great Trevorban Tip was first built out of waste material, people thought it was more than that, like an alien base they were trying to cover up, or hidden bunkers. Now, this mysterious hovering shape has only fueled those theories even more. Blob anomaly. This year, a beachgoer in Marrickville, Australia was enjoying the rain. But after the rain stopped, he noticed something else had fallen with it. It was a creepy, pale, fleshy blob. It had a strange, long appendage and a dark spot that almost looked like an eye. It neither resembles a worm nor a fish. He had heard of waterspouts before, a phenomena that can lift sea creatures into the sky and drop them miles away. So his main concern was what exactly this creature was. Since he was too disgusted to touch it or take it home to examine it, he simply recorded it in detail before leaving. Grotesque winged figure. For 3 nights in a row, a man kept hearing disturbing sounds outside his home, like something was scraping its nails against the walls. By the 4th night, he finally found enough courage to step outside and investigate. That's when he found this terrifying humanoid creature. It had massive wings behind its back, and its appearance was absolutely grotesque. Its face had no features at all, and its lower body ended in 4 strange limbs. The moment it noticed him, the creature spread its wings and flew away. Although it didn't return after that, the man still felt scared every night. Foul carcass. This viral video showed a vile, alien-like carcass a man had found in the woods near his home in Delaware. He had been walking through the forest when he heard a heavy thump. When he followed the sound, this foul creature was lying there. Its creepy, slender frame was coated in a thick, pale slime. It looked oddly porous. Near its torso, there was a cluster of dark brown bulbous masses, glistening with mucus. It was giving off a stench so strong it was hard to stand close to it. 3 days later, he posted an update on Reddit. He had contacted wildlife biologists after finding this. They said one side of the head was crushed flat, like from an impact, so it must have fallen from a great height, but that's all they know for now. Parasitic sky creature. This is one of the most unsettling things that fell from the sky. A man was at Cannon Beach in Oregon, US, when this creature had dropped on his head. After picking it up, he saw that it had a shell that seemed to move on its own, and there were strange root-like structures spreading in the rest of it. Although this looked like some kind parasitic barnacle that can burrow into other creatures, he knew it wasn't that, because barnacles don't just drop from the sky. He was so creeped out by it that he left it there. Slimy fog. On the 23rd of December, 2025, a resident from California shared a video that sent shockwaves across the internet. He had been collecting fog samples from his area using simple condensation jars placed outside overnight, and what he recorded next didn't look normal at all. The liquid was thick and slimy, with a foul smell too. It looked less like water and more like an oily substance, filled with bubbles like fatty liquids. When he touched it, it felt sticky and nauseating. He claimed this could explain why so many people had been getting sick lately, because this fog clearly felt contaminated, as if someone had released mysterious, oily substances into the air on purpose. Bizarre tentacle creature. I bet you won't have an explanation for this video. This clip shows a strange green creature floating high in the air. It had long, tentacle-like limbs, and its shape looked a lot like an octopus or a squid. But that made no sense at all, because neither of those creatures belong in the sky. I couldn't find any other information about the video. Because of that, no one on the internet has been able to explain what this thing really was. But if you have any idea, let me know in the comments. Sky tentacles creature. In 2015, A man reported a disturbing creature in the skies over Tbilisi, Georgia. It was black with long, tentacle-like strands flowing behind it. What made it even more unsettling was the way it moved, because despite those tentacles, it stayed perfectly airborne. When he had uploaded the video back then, it immediately confused viewers and experts too, since there is no known species with such aerodynamics, and the video was recorded from far away. No one was able to identify or explain it. Unidentified aerial phenomenon.
I'm Boston 25 News reporter Alyssa Azara in Pembroke, where a woman says she was enjoying the pool Wednesday night when she saw a strangely shaped and unfamiliar object falling from the sky just over there.
On the 25th of June in Pembroke, Massachusetts, a woman named Colleen McCormack noticed something terrifying dropping from the sky. She quickly began recording as the object fell straight down at an unnatural speed. It had blinking lights and even looked fiery. Disturbingly, the object vanished from her view, and there wasn't even any sound of a crash after that. She got so scared after the sighting that she immediately contacted the local authorities. But even after a thorough investigation, the Federal Aviation Administration couldn't find any aircraft debris or impact site. So, with no physical evidence, the incident still remains as an unidentified aerial phenomenon.
I see something like falling down from the sky. It had like blinking lights and like looked like it was like on fire or something. And it was just coming down really fast. I had no idea what it could have been.
Alien rock. Here's one of the most viral and shocking moments that had taken the entire internet by storm. A TikToker named Kin Panama claimed to have found a meteorite, but something was really wrong with it, because the next day, a creepy organism started growing from it. At first, it was only a green membrane, but then it grew into a twisting and writhing mass of black tentacles, and it just kept growing bigger and bigger. He thought it was an actual alien. In his final update, when the organism grew too big, he threw it into an abandoned building that was flooded with dirty water. Frozen iguanas.
Oh my God.
Residents of South Florida got an absolutely shocking surprise on January 22nd, 2020. Around mid-morning, people began hearing strange thumps outside their homes. So, when they went out to see what was happening, they discovered dozens of cold, stunned iguanas scattered across the streets and sidewalks. The shocking part was that although iguanas are native to Florida, these residents had never seen any in this specific neighborhood, which is why their sudden appearance, combined with the thumps they'd heard, made it feel as if the iguanas had literally fallen from the sky. So, people were so confused that they alerted experts, but they simply told them not to collect them.
You're alive.
Huntsman cluster. A hiker had been sitting on a bench to rest during a hike in Manildra, New South Wales, when his break ended in the most terrifying way. A massive cluster of spiders fell right from above and landed just next to him. He jumped up in shock and immediately began recording. He immediately identified them as Huntsman spiders, which is the largest and most intimidating species of spiders found in the region. However, there were no tall trees or structures nearby from which the spiders could have possibly fallen. So, could they have fallen from the sky? Twirling skyworm. A woman in Delaware had been walking her dog when something strange descended from high above. As it reached the grass, she started recording. It looked like a long white worm with odd brown growths, and somehow it was suspended in the air, twirling continuously. She was both unsettled and disgusted by it, so she didn't dare touch it and left after recording it. She shared the footage on her social media, and one viewer said that this could be a caterpillar in a cocoon that had fallen from a nest. But that didn't explain why it was twirling in midair instead of simply falling to the ground. Flying humanoid. This video first appeared online in 2016, and even now it remains one of the most baffling clips from India. Two siblings were posing for a video in front of the historic Qutub Miner, but something far more shocking than the towering monument caught everyone's attention. A mysterious entity suddenly appeared in the sky. From a distance, its features weren't clear, but the outline was unmistakably that of a person. It hovered for a brief moment before shooting away with unbelievable speed, going out of sight. After this video went viral, tourism at Qutub Miner increased greatly, but no one has ever been able to spot the flying humanoid again. Alien remains footage. Take a look at what a man found in this old house. In 2019, he moved there because the house was cheap. Inside a mysterious wooden chest, he discovered a tape with this footage from the 1950s. The old blurry film showed a dark, alien-like creature with oddly incomplete limbs. The footage was labeled UFO Crash Monster Recovery, 1954. From this label, the man figured out that this must be the remains from a crashed UFO. Now he doesn't know what to do with the clip. Mysterious extraterrestrial object. Sightings like these make the sky seem even more terrifying. A fisherman was at Westerland Beach in Germany when he noticed something unbelievable above the North Sea. A massive dark object had descended from the sky and was hovering just over the sea. So he quickly began recording with shaky hands. The object had a rough rhombus-like shape with sharp pointed edges. It was so enormous that the top of it was still touching the clouds above. On top of that, it was giving off a deafening mechanical noise. As he kept filming, the object slowly lifted upward and slipped back into the clouds. At that moment, he realized it was an actual extraterrestrial object that had entered our orbit. Dragon sighting. On the 2nd of August, 2021, an astrophile, someone who is fascinated by the sky, captured a sight he never could have imagined. It happened when he was recording a thunderstorm in Singapore. As the lightning lit up the sky, it revealed a long serpentine form in the sky, with small clawed limbs below it. Its form looked just like the Tian Long, a dragon from Chinese folklore. The man was shocked because he had never seen this throughout his years of filming the sky, and it was the last time he spotted it. Buga sphere. On March 2nd, 2025, a man in Colombia spotted a strange metallic sphere falling through the sky. It looked like it was malfunctioning and eventually struck a power line before falling in a nearby forest. He recovered the object and filmed it. The sphere was covered in strange markings, with a chip-like pattern at its center. Scientists quickly got involved after this footage went viral and conducted X-ray examinations. That's when they discovered a super technological structure inside it. It wasn't affected by heat and even changed weight, properties unlike anything other normal material, which has made them believe this was an alien technology. Unexplainable metallic object.
It appears to be a possible fuel tank from a rocket that was being launched in the last 12 months that's dropped into the Indian Ocean, somewhere in the Indian Ocean, and washed up at Green Head.
On the 17th of July, 2023, beachgoers in Australia discovered a mysterious object on the sand. It looked like a broken part of a bigger aircraft that had fallen here overnight because it hadn't been there just a day before, and there was no other debris around it. However, the real mystery is something else. When locals alerted the Western Australian police, they examined it and found it to be partially covered by barnacles, which made no sense if it had landed so recently. This even attracted the attention of many aircraft experts, and some of them even thought it belonged to the missing plane MH370 that had disappeared in 2014. But all explanations so far are flawed and incomplete. Space junk discovery.
A flaming piece of suspect space junk has sparked a huge investigation. This is the moment police in WA, with their body cams rolling, approached the giant chunk of metal and carbon fibre which was found on a remote road near a mine site close to the town of Newman. It was initially spotted still flaming hot by local miners.
In October 2025, a mysterious discovery on a remote road near a mine in Newman, Western Australia, had sparked a major investigation. Miners had found this dark mass of carbon fibers that was still very hot. After they contacted authorities, many experts, including Brad Tucker, an astrophysicist and cosmologist, stepped in to examine the object. After analyzing its size and structure, Tucker said it was likely space junk from a rocket, but he also warned that the increasing frequency of such debris falling from orbit is alarming, as there's no way to control where it lands. So people were incredibly lucky that this piece fell in the middle of nowhere. Mysterious space rock.
That meteor flew over today, Williamston, South Carolina.
In Williamston, South Carolina, a man walked out into his yard and found a hole torn straight through his corrugated roof, like something had fallen from the sky and smashed through it. After investigating further, he found this strange rock at the site of impact. It was glowing faintly with a mysterious blue light. When he touched it, it felt unnaturally cold. He recorded the object and shared the footage online, hoping someone could explain it, because normal space rocks do not glow once they land. That meant this was no ordinary rock. Someone in the comments told him to give it to planetary geologists for testing, but he hasn't given any updates.
And I don't know what that is.
Nuclear horror. This video from 1988 was leaked last year. It was recorded near the Nelson River DC line in Manitoba, Canada. Around that time, a sudden failure at the Whiteshell Nuclear Research Facility forced the entire area into an emergency lockdown. According to the stories, the massive energy released that night had attracted something from outer space. There had been reports of a UFO sighting on the day of the nuclear failure, and only 2 days after that, this supermassive creature appeared there. It had long, silvery tentacles wrapped around the plant's chimney, and its body was glowing as if it was feeding on the powerful radiation. They had to call the military to contain the monster, and after the lockdown was lifted, the creature was gone. Now it's time for the subscribers' pick of today. There is very little information available about this video, but it's still worth watching. When a man was recording the weather at Miami Beach, he saw a massive winged creature in the sky. Within seconds, it dropped to the sand, so he was able to get a closer look of it. It was no ordinary creature. It was a humanoid with enormous wings on its back. The feathery wings were white and darker on one side, like they were muddied. There was something even stranger. The inhuman creature was wearing human clothes. The video ended abruptly with no further context, so viewers are now flooding the internet with their own explanations. Some of them are even saying that this could be a shape-shifting creature who got stuck mid-transformation and lost consciousness.